Okay, so for the 5 people that actually pay attention to my channel, they will know that not too long ago I played through and beat the original God of War game at the hardest difficulty, and this video is where I give my thoughts on it. If you ask me, the first God of War game still holds up. But then again, I used to play the mess out of this game as a kid, so I just might be looking at it through rose-tinted glasses. It's one of the reasons why I'm even into action, adventure, hack and slash type of games to begin with. I had other great games of the genre in my library like Devil May Cry and Ninja Gaiden, but I didn't get into those games quite the same way, at least not until later in life. I was only 9 years old and the ambience of Devil May Cry games used to scare the shit out of me. And with Ninja Gaiden, whew, let's just say that game was so hard I couldn't even get past the 4th level. So yeah, I was just stuck playing GTA San Andreas for a while. And I know what some of you people are thinking, God of War, GTA, Ninja Gaiden, what the fuck were your parents thinking getting all these M-rated games? And to that I say, what the fuck were your parents thinking not giving you these games? So before Santa Monica Studios created one of Sony's premier franchises, they developed the game Kinetica, released back in 2001. The game was an F-Zero style high-speed futuristic racing game, mostly used to show off the newly made Kinetica engine which the studio also made. After Kinetica, the team began working on a new IP for Sony under the title Dark Odyssey. David Jaffe, who up until that point was known for being director of some of the Twisted Metal games, was made game director for this project, and Sony practically gave him free reign to make whatever the hell he wanted. Having played Onimusha, Jaffe told the rest of the team, yo, let's do that, but with Greek mythology. And so the team got to work and God of War was released early 2005 to critical acclaim. Although nowadays gamers don't look at this one with much reverence since, well, the later games are much better. And also it was one of the most popular games at the time to push the whole quick time events in games thing, which, you know, is heavily hated nowadays. Though to the series' defense, I feel they do it better than most games, which I'll expound upon later. I'm about to spoil the entire story of this game, so if you don't want the story to be spoiled for you, then skip forward to this time. You play as Kratos, a Spartan warrior who's been serving the Olympian gods for 10 years with the hope that they'll get rid of his frequent nightmares in return. The game opens with Kratos attempting suicide, but then we're flashed back 3 weeks prior with Kratos fighting off a bunch of Hydra heads. After killing the Hydra and screwing over a sea captain, Kratos becomes fed up with serving the gods and angrily asks Athena when they'll relieve him of his nightmares. Athena tells Kratos that the god of war Ares is waging war against her city Athens out of jealousy for her, and that Zeus has banned all gods from doing something about it for some reason. So she assigns Kratos to kill Ares, and if he does this, then he'll be forgiven for his past. Kratos arrives in Athens, gets busy in the bedroom real quick,
You should play God of War because it'll get you laid.
and fights through hordes of Ares' minions to find and rescue the Oracle. The Oracle informs Kratos that he's weak as fuck, and that the only way he can defeat Ares is with Pandora's box, a magical box that gives you the power of a god. Unfortunately for Kratos, the box is located in a temple on the back of the Titan Kronos, who also wanders a forbidden desert. But Kratos doesn't care. He proceeds through the desert, boards the Titan, and makes his way through the booby-trapped and monster-filled temple. It's here through flashbacks where we see how much of a dickhead Kratos was in his past. It's revealed that he was once a successful Spartan captain, until one day he and his army got murked by a bunch of barbarians. And I know what you're thinking, aren't Spartans supposed to be elite warriors? How the hell did they get owned by a bunch of barbarians? Well, the only explanation I can come up with is that these are definitely not the same Spartans from the movie 300. Facing death, Kratos calls Ares to save his ass, but he also pledges to serve him for more power. Ares is like, yeah, and gives him the Blades of Chaos, to which Kratos uses it to make one of the cleanest decapitations in video game history. Of course, the power and bloodlust get to Kratos' head, and one day while raiding a village, he accidentally kills his family. Now I know what you're thinking again, how the hell do you accidentally kill your own family? Well, it turns out Ares transported Kratos' family to the village without him knowing. He thought getting rid of Kratos' family would make him a better warrior, but this only caused Kratos to realize how much of a dickhead he's been. The village oracle then curses Kratos by imbuing the ashes of his family to his skin, making him pale as hell and having him being known as the Ghost of Sparta. Haunted by the visions of his terrible deed, Kratos then vows to serve the other gods to get rid of them. Flash forward to the present though, Kratos succeeds in getting Pandora's box, but Ares somehow knows this and makes a long ass spear throw that puts NFL quarterbacks to shame. The spear kills Kratos and he literally goes to hell, but Kratos, being the badass that he is, manages to fight his way through hell back to the surface of Athens. Kratos then confronts Ares and manages to get Pandora's box open while Ares is not looking, and becomes a giant himself. The final battle ensues. Ares tries to break him physically and mentally, but Kratos overcomes it all and kills Ares for good. You gotta love this line right here.
That night, I was trying to make you a great warrior. You succeeded.
So Athens is kinda saved, and Kratos approaches Athena like, "Can you please take away my visions now?" To which Athena replies,
Though we mourn the death of our brother, the gods are indebted to you.
We promised your sins would be forgiven, and so they are. But we never promised to take away your nightmares. No man, no god could ever forget the terrible deeds you have done.
With that, Kratos is like, well, fuck it then, I'll just off myself. Which brings us full circle to the beginning of the game where he jumps off a cliff. But it's an unsuccessful suicide attempt as Athena magically stops him, gives him a new set of blades, and offers him the position as new God of War, to which Kratos accepts.
God of War.
So yeah, that's the story. Of course, I made it sound sillier than it actually was, but for an action game, it's not too shabby. Kratos' story is pretty reminiscent of the Greek mythological stories that this game is based on. It's epic, but it's also tragic. I usually find flashbacks to be a pretty corny way to explain a character's backstory, but the ones in this game are pretty tight. For one, the CGI cinematics still look pretty good, but the flashbacks also have this nightmarish quality to them. The team obviously didn't know if this game was going to be a hit or not, so the story ends off in a way where you could continue Kratos' story no problem, which they did of course, but you can end the story here no problems also, you know, with him being God of War but still haunted by the visions. Kratos in this game is a lot different than I remember, and I'm not saying that because of Dad of War, but comparing his behavior to the later games where he's like,
I will have my revenge!
He's actually pretty chill in this game. He's still an asshole, no doubt, but he's more of an apathetic asshole in this game than an angry one. He doesn't even really talk. Alright, enough about the story. This is an action game after all. Most of the reason to play a game like this is for the gameplay. So how is it? Well, God of War's gameplay is separated into 3 parts: combat, puzzles, and platforming. I'm going to talk about the combat first because, you know, that's the most important part. For the most part, the combat is still pretty enjoyable. Mostly a typical combo-based hack and slash. What separates God of War from its contemporaries is that, for one, all the enemies you fight are Greek mythological monsters. Minotaurs, Cyclopses, Gorgons, these goats that I fucking hate. Pretty much whatever Greek monster you can think of is probably in this game. I know some people don't give a damn about this, but as for me, As a kid that was interested in Greek mythology, being able to face all these monsters was like the coolest thing. They could have done what every other game with the genre does and throw generic ass demons at you, but they didn't. And no, that's not the only thing that makes the combat good. Kratos is armed with the Blades of Chaos, double chain blades which allow for a lot of mid-range sweeping strikes. The game likes to throw big crowds of enemies at you sometimes, but it's alright because the Blades of Chaos allow you to punish multiple enemies at once. Swinging these things around just never gets old, man, especially whenever you upgrade them. The blades do more damage, you get new moves, and you can really juggle enemies in the air for quite a while if you know what you're doing, of course. Only problem with some of the new moves you get later on is some of the button layouts. I'm mostly talking about this twirly shit right here. You do this move by holding down the block button and then pressing the square button. Problem is, this button sequence is also how you parry. You have to press the block button as soon as an enemy attacks you, and then you have to press the square button to counterattack. I got screwed over a couple times throughout the game as I was trying to do this counterattack move, but ended up doing this twirly shit that leaves you wide open for an attack. It wasn't that annoying, mind you, but you know, took some undeserved hits. Speaking of the parrying, it makes no sense how you can parry this, but not this. Going back to the Blades of Chaos being awesome, they definitely allow for a more dynamic style of combat than if Kratos was equipped with some generic ass greatsword. One of the reasons why the Blade of Artemis kinda sucks, the moveset is too slow, and as far as I can tell, the game wasn't built around it. As I said earlier, the game throws big crowds of enemies at you, and the Blades of Chaos are simply faster and have better reach. But of course, Kratos is packing more than just swords. Throughout the game, you get 4 magic spells given to you by the gods. Poseidon's Rage, which is this awesome thunder attack that fucking murks everything around you. Medusa's Gaze, where you turn enemies to stone by showing them Medusa's ugly face. Zeus's Fury, the not so awesome thunder attack where you throw lightning bolts. And lastly, Army of Hades, where you summon these undead gods from that one Courage the Cowardly Dog episode to kick the asses of everybody around you. Like I said before, the game likes to throw big crowds of enemies at you, so really, the only spells that you're really going to use, well, the only spells I really used were Poseidon's Rage and Army of Hades. Kratos also has this temporary transformation called Rage of the Gods where he goes into this electrified Kaioken state. He does more damage, attacks a lot faster, and has an infinite amount of magic to spend. That's pretty much this game's "oh shit" button. One of the staples of the God of War games that everyone seems to know about are the quick time events. Whenever you get an enemy low on health, the circle button appears over their heads, which signals that you can finish them off in a brutal way. You could kind of think of them as Mortal Kombat fatalities, except you get more than one try to do it, of course. This is why I say the quick time events in these games aren't that bad, since for the most part, they're just used as finishing moves. Other than the bosses, you can go through the whole game without doing them, although it's not recommended since you yield more orbs if you do them, plus you get health and magic back. They're pretty badass to look at, although I will admit that after a while it does get kind of repetitive. Another thing that's repetitive about the combat is the Plume of Prometheus combo. I'm pretty sure the game wants you to use this combo a lot since it pretty much wrecks every enemy. Like even the bigger enemies like the Cyclopses, it stops them dead in their tracks. Also, is it me or does this air grab do like ridiculous damage? Like doing this to the later Minotaurs, it kills them in like 3 hits. Not only that, but since enemies have such a big bounce, you can fucking spam this shit. The bosses are pretty alright, but 3 is simply not enough in a hack and slash game. The latter half of this game really suffers from this as Pandora's Temple drags. There's only so many booby traps and regular enemies you can fight before it all starts to blend together. A few more boss battles would have definitely spiced things up a little bit, especially when you get to Pandora's Box. You would think there would be a climatic boss battle before it since you've been working towards it the whole latter half of the game. But no, you get this shitty ass room with too many harpies and weak looking fire that somehow insta-kills you. I guess this is where I should talk about the puzzles and platforming. It's these 2 other aspects of the gameplay where this game really suffers from first game syndrome. A lot of these are simply mediocre, man. With the platforming, jumping across bottomless pits and climbing up walls is alright for the most part. But these balancing beam sections suck donkey cocks. They're slow, they're boring, and later on they become pretty infuriating. And the worst part about it is, they're the main form of platforming challenge other than the walls. There's a reason why they don't appear much in the later games. As with the puzzles, they were clearly an afterthought because the vast majority of them are basic push a block to a certain spot or find an object and put it in here type of stuff. They don't even make you feel smart. I didn't say anything about the graphics yet, but that's because a 2005 PlayStation 2 game is obviously going to look like doo-doo today. Although I will say the sense of scale is pretty good, like here where you see Ares wrecking shit in the background. Did I mention the soundtrack yet? Because the soundtrack is actually pretty fantastic. The battle themes are pretty epic with use of horns, percussions, and chanting vocals to give it that ancient tribal feel. And then you have the slower moments that have this nice tranquil melody that utilizes most of the same instruments. When you beat the game on lower difficulties, the game encourages you to beat it again on God mode, which if you ask me is the way the game is meant to be played. I don't know if it's because I played this game so much, but normal mode feels like easy mode. The damage you take is so laughably minuscule, most of your deaths are probably going to come from these insta-kill puzzles. If you do beat the game on God mode, you're actually rewarded with a good amount of extra stuff. Yeah, I remember when cosmetics and bonus challenges were included in the game. Good times. You can tell that the team making this game was passionate about it, because within the game they even added a behind the scenes making of God of War with some other developer commentaries. There's even a character graveyard where you can see scrap designs. Also, if you beat this game on God mode, they show you a number where to this day you can call and Kratos himself congratulates you.
By the gods, you've done it. Somehow you found your way here, to me. I offer you my congratulations and my respect. Together, we shall conquer the perils that lay before us, and we shall always...
Dude, they did it. They found our Easter egg.
Who are you?
It's me, David Jaffe. I directed the game.
What game?
Your game, God of War.
Go away or
Dude, don't you get it? These guys, they spent all that time breaking those statues. I mean, they must have taken, like, forever. And then they figured out the whole secret code thing.
I do not know what you are talking about.
We hid this secret pretty damn deep, huh, Kratos?
If I kill you, I will get help or...
So wait. If you got the secret from the net or a magazine, then actually you kind of suck. I mean, work for it a bit, right, Kratos? Actually, can I call you Krat?
No. Go away or I'll
Don't you hate it when they get the codes off the net? So lazy. Hey, say, Krat, what are you so pale for?
I am serious.
You know, up close, you actually look kind of tasty, if you don't mind me saying. It's kind of gross.
All right, that's it. Oh, Claire, what are you doing? Wait up! Come here, Claire! We gotta make the secret! He was worse than a screeching harpy. As I was saying, you have found the secret. You have done well. Congratulations, mortal. We will meet again.
So yeah, that's all I gotta say about this. Despite being a little rough around the edges, there's still a good amount of fun to be found in the first God of War. Gonna be playing through and reviewing the later games, so if you like this video or anything I had to say, stay tuned.
They were driven forward by Kratos, the mortal who had become the new God of War.